Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
A new week, a new show. It's Wood and Sticks, as always, recording from the Aquarius Home Services studio. I am the host of the show. My name is Kevin Gorg, with my trusty producer, Alex Hogan. We are ready to go, and it is Free Agent Frenzy Wednesday. We are recording on the 1st of July, tracking Twitter, watching moves. Zuccarello's an LA King. Calvin Pickard's the new third goalie for the Wild. Bogosian's going to be back. All kinds of excitement here. It's fun to track and fun to watch, and we're going to have a guest on today that can break it all down from a Wild fandom perspective. This guy is kind of the king of the court in terms of downtown St. Paul and getting ready for Wild games. More importantly, getting ready to celebrate a Wild Stanley Cup run. He is John King from Wild on 7th. They're here till it's here, along with Ryan Carter. I've been on their podcast a bunch of times. We did a live show before one of the playoff games against the Dallas Stars last year. It was electric. It was packed. People were having such a good time in St. Paul. And we're hoping to do that for many years to come. And John King is the creative mind behind the hockey hair at the state tournament, behind the Not Weird Wild campaign, and so many other cool layers to his connection to Minnesota hockey. So super excited to have my dear friend on today to talk about it and, get into the, where the Wild are, where they want to go, and kind of what we're seeing here, not just from a Minnesota perspective, but a league perspective. John has always got a really open mind about the goings on in the league and how it affects each team and how it affects the Wild, some of their rivals. Made moves, didn't make moves. I mean, people in Dallas right now are freaking out with the whole Werenski thing. We'll get into that. And we'll just have some fun. We'll talk a little hockey here on the back end of our conversation. We'll have a few laughs and kind of lay it out as we get ready for kind of the summer part of the equation. It's a little more laid back in the hockey world, but there are still so many things to tackle today and moving forward on the show. I thought this was a perfect time to connect with John King. As always, I want to thank you, the listeners, for being a part of this, for coming out to Canterbury and seeing me at the racetrack. I've had a bunch of listeners to the show pull me aside in the paddock and have questions, and Dylan Larkin's been a big part of that. It doesn't look like 71 from Detroit is coming our way, but I wouldn't close the door on that yet. So we'll see if Nick Foligno wears that number. We know that Foligno will likely be back. Bogosian, as I was just recording here, is linked up and ready to go. And I think and we'll get into this with John King too, but, let's trust Billy Guerin a little bit here. The guy was a part, both as a player and a manager, of a handful of Stanley Cups. He knows what it takes to get the job done. We've seen him build this team into a cup contender. He just won the award as the top general manager in the National Hockey League. Let's let all of this play out. And maybe I shouldn't have been on social media so much today, because everybody feels like they're on the edge of their seat and it's now or never. It's, prisoner of the moment territory. Take a deep breath. Realize that there are still moves to be made. There's still going to be, I think, room for big moves to be made during the season as well once we get there. So the Wild have depth. They have talent. It's a destination where players want to go. There's a lot of things cooking in the right direction. And, just because today early on hasn't gone exactly the way fans wanted it to go, and when Zuccarello signed for $1 million, people just started freaking out. There's a method to the madness, and you have to trust the people that know more than we do. And I'll continue to come back to that today, later in the show, and moving forward. It's just the way it is. They know more than we do, period. Trust the process is all I will say. And as always, if you have a question, if you have a recommendation, if you have any input whatsoever, the best place to find me is on X or Twitter at Gorgomatic21, or come out to Canterbury like a lot of hockey fans and listeners have done and pull me aside after I do my paddock preview before each and every race at the Family Fun spot in Shakopee. Now, today, before we get to John King, we got to thank the people that make this show happen week in and week out. We'll start with my dear friend, John Schweitz, and the great people of Minnesota Masonic Charities. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic Home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz. Want to thank my friends over at Lucy Nicotine Pouches. My friends have been all in on Lucy lately, and the good news is it's never been easier to try because Lucy is now available at Quick Trip. They've tried just about every pouch out there, and Lucy has become the one they keep coming back to. Great flavor, great strength options, and a pouch that actually holds up. You can get Lucy in mint, apple ice, mango, espresso, berry citrus, and apple cider. The flavor lasts, and if you want to test the lineup, start with the 6-pack. The game changer is Lucy Breakers. Every pouch has a burstable flavor capsule. Bite into it for an extra hit of flavor and a smooth kick that just keeps going. My friends call Lucy top tier, and they recommend it to everyone. Now you can give them a try. Get 20% off your first order when you buy online at lucy.co/woodensticks with the promo code Wooden Sticks. That's lucy.co/woodensticks with the promo code Wooden Sticks. And if you don't want to wait, check out their store locator to find where you can pick up Lucy at your nearest Quick Trip today. Here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of a legal age, and every customer is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. All the fun people over at Onyx Fish and Onyx Maps.
If you like to hunt or fish, I highly recommend checking out onyxmaps.com. Check it out for onyxmaps.com/hunt or onyxmaps.com/fish. Stop fishing the same lake because it's the only one you know. Onyx Fish lets you filter lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential so you can make a smarter call on where to spend your Saturday before you ever hitch up the trailer. It's only $34.99 for the year, less than a spool of good braid. Download Onyx Fish on the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish and fish smarter this season.
And, of course, our friends and neighbors over at Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. The great John King, next on Wooden Sticks. We are back on Wooden Sticks. It's time for a summertime catch-up, as always, recording from the Aquarius Home Services studio. My dear friend is with us. He is John King. Of course, Wild on 7th, the hockey hair, all the good stuff. Kinger, great to see and hear from you today.
How are you, brother? Good to see you. I hope you're having a good summer.
It's been good so far. Yeah, Canterbury, I got to see you out there a couple weeks ago. It was fun to see your family. That's kind of my vibe in the summer. It's so much different than the hockey season. We're outdoors. There's no travel. There's no suits. And it's a fun spot, right? You guys had a great time out there. Canterbury is where the people come to play.
Well, Father's Day, too. I mean, it was outstanding. My dad's always getting sensitive because he thinks horse racing is dying, but I think more young people need to go to the track. It's a great way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, we're getting, I think, a little younger in our demographic out there. We've done these Thursday night promotions where we race at 5 o'clock and have all these beer specials. It's become kind of a hangout for the college kids that are home for the summer to come out to Canterbury, and then they head to the bars. By the time we're putting our teeth in the jar, their night's really just getting going. So I think you're right. Horse racing has, I think, its place, and I think the average age of most people at a racetrack is well above 40, but I think at certain tracks like Canterbury, it's become younger. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for all sports to try to stay younger. I think, hockey obviously is our bread and butter on this show, and you and I share the same absolute passion for the game and for the Minnesota Wild. And I think you look around the arena come game day, I feel like the Wild have a younger fan base than ever. And I think maybe social media has something to do with that. These kids seem to have a phone in their hand by the time they're 8 years old.
Yeah, no, and that's good. Like when we did that block party, that was the first time I've looked out at the crowd and it didn't look like a bunch of, 60-year-olds wearing quarter zips. It looked like a bunch of, looked like a concert. It was pretty great. So too bad we couldn't have kept going further.
Yeah, I look back at our time together, and I helped out on Wild on 7th and had such a great time with you and Karts and Staylock and Radio Joe. And I look at that night in particular with the block party and just how much fun it was to be a part of that mix, to have the crowd so amped up and then see the Wild play the way they did. We were so close to getting another one of those, in the game that ended the Wild season. Of course, there were a lot of what ifs and might have been this, might have been that, but had they won that game, not only would Cale Makar have been hurt, there would have been another weekend night with a block party in St. Paul to kind of build off what we did that first night. It left me wanting more, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was switching my flight, then I had to switch it back. And so, but I that night was really amazing just to even to go into the game and then just watch them play perfectly. And it was the perfect night. It was also great to get out of the first round, right? All that baggage, that monkey on our back, to throw that on the ice was a good thing too.
I like what the Dallas coach said after the series when they had their postmortem. He said, we wanted to win that series. We wanted to win awfully bad, but Minnesota needed to win that series and played that way. And I think when you really dig into what he was saying at that moment, I don't think he was wrong. The Wild played with desperation throughout that entire series, and you saw some incredible efforts. And I just look at, the goal that I'll always remember is the Boldy goal with the deflection and that celebration. These guys, it was everything they had put into the entire season was into that series and showing the league that they were not going to be one and done anymore. And that was a huge step for this organization.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. How's your, what are you making of today, Gorgie? The whole July 1st hysteria.
Well, we are recording on Free Agents Frenzy Day, and as we start to record, the Wild just locked up their veteran goalie. It's Calvin Pickard. I watched him in Edmonton for years. Not really surprised by that move at all. Minnesota needs something to cover up with Gustafsson's injury, and he won't be back, it sounds like, till early November. So it's going to be Jesper Wallsted's net. We knew that going in, but you had to have a veteran presence around him. I think Pickard gives them that. The Zuccarello thing has everybody on social media all wound up, and I guess to me that's the bigger news. They were going to sign a veteran goalie, and I think they're going to try to make a move here at Anders Lee, and I'm watching Twitter as we record this today on Wednesday. But your thoughts on the Zuccarello situation?
Well, it freaked me out when he signed for $1 million. I know there's a bunch of incentives, but something happened there. It seems like maybe the Dylan Larkin thing or waiting too long, something snapped. And I don't know. It's weird. On one hand, with Kaprizov, it's like, well, let's see what the alpha looks like now. Let's see what happens if you don't have your blanket. But also, like, the blanket worked pretty well. Maybe that's a pretty great blanket to have. And if that makes Kirill, then, that's a good thing. But I think they wanted to move on for whatever reason. And I loved Zuki. I think he's maybe the funniest guy on the team, kind of low key. But yeah, I think there's something there. But until you get another piece for Kirill, you're sort of half finished, right? It's like you took away his blanket, and he doesn't have Dylan Larkin sitting next to him or Anders Lee when we record. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really enjoyed getting to know Zuki, and to your point, very, very funny behind the scenes. Great sense of humor. And, listen, the Wild have wanted and still want Kirill to play a more North game. They want him to be more direct. And maybe it came to a point, like you mentioned, Kinger, with the waiting game and not knowing if they were going to have the amount of money and capital to make the move on Dylan Larkin. Zuccarello got impatient in his agent, and there was a crossroads, and there was a point of no return. I don't know. I mean, that has not been knowledge that we were able to get. But the more North part of the game, certainly when you have a guy like Zuccarello that likes to play East-West, maybe that went into the decision too. I don't know. There's a lot of incentives for Zuki in LA. It's a really good fit for him. Certainly on a team that's got a chance to make a run at the Cup, especially on that side of the bracket, as we saw with Vegas this year. So I'm going to miss him for sure. But knowing Billy G, like we both know, our general manager, there's probably a lot more to come here. And I think there's a reason for everything he does. So I'm not going to panic at all. And I do think Anders Lee is the next big move he's got up his sleeve. And I think that would be a really good fit. And that could be the next blankie, as you like to say, for number 97.
I need to tell me more about Anders, because I know Larkin just from all the USA stuff. Obviously, he's an Edina kid. He was a quarterback. I know the story. He's tough. He plays every game every year. But what, in the math of 97 on that top line, what's the trade-offs, positive and negative, between like a Dylan Larkin versus an Anders Lee?
Well, he's 5 years older, 5 or 6 actually. I think his birthday's July 30th. He's going to turn 36 here, and he's not as fast. Larkin's speed, I don't think you can replicate with many that are available right now, and that's why he's such a hot commodity. And Yzerman's playing the poker game he has to play. But what Anders Lee does bring to the table, you mentioned the durability, that stands out to me. I think he's played back-to-back years, 82 games, super smart player. He's physical. He can, take away space, a lot like Eck does. Like, he can force the hand of the opponent by going to the dirty areas, maybe open up the rink a little bit for Kirill. He can make plays. Now, is he Matt Zuccarello? No, but he can make plays, and he's a point and goal producer. And so he'd be a great top 6 option. Clearly a Minnesota guy that would love to come home. Power play guy certainly would help in that area. And then I just think, for Minnesota right now, they need one more guy up top. If you're going to lose Zuccarello, you got to bring in somebody. And clearly right now, they're banking on either a Hunter Haight or a Charlie Stramel or someone like that to have a real path here during camp. Johansson is gone. Zuccarello is gone. Those are both guys that played top 6 minutes these last couple of years and did it quite well. So there's some avenues to pursue here, but there are also some young players that need an opportunity. And frankly, Kinger, I'm excited to see what some of these guys can do.
Yeah, I like to watch Stramel's interview today as Dev Camp, and what a big boy. I mean, I just found myself smiling just looking at how big he was. I mean, in terms of, you can picture him in the half shield in the show doing things. So I know he had a little bit of a wiggle at Wisconsin, but then he was so good at Michigan State. So I'm hoping because that North-South thing, it's all about playoffs. East-West is just fine when you're getting your cookies during the regular season. And then you get to the playoffs and it's like, what was the guy's name? Holden on Vegas. I mean, it's like, you saw it even with our team. You're getting Big Mac scoring,
Yep.
It's just guys that are going to put a bug off the windshield.
It's a different game. And you're exactly right. Guys that perform at the playoff level are guys that can go straight up north, can get to the offensive zone, can throw pucks at the net, can get players there for a rebound. It's just a different game. And it's great to think that the East-West game during the regular season can work because it's fun to watch. It just doesn't work that way in the playoffs very often. And that's why you've seen, even though Colorado has a cup, I mean, they could have 4 or 5 cups right now. It's hard to play that way come playoff time. And I think teams that can grind it out with speed and skill, but still have enough grit to do it, have success. That's why I do believe the Wild were comfortable kind of making Zuccarello expendable, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, Stramel's a kid that really popped at the D1 level these last couple of years, got off to a slow start at Wisconsin, and we've seen college players that can, if you can play on a high-level team at the Division I level, you can usually make that transition to the NHL pretty seamless. And I think the most recent example that Wild fans could identify with is Alex Bump late in the regular season into the playoffs, more importantly, getting a chance to shine with the Philadelphia Flyers. He's a few years removed from being a superstar at Prior Lake and then going on to win a national championship with Western Michigan. These type of players can step in and can help you sooner rather than later. And the Wild have spent a lot of time watching this kid develop. And I think maybe if this Larkin thing doesn't work out, that's another silver lining here, Kinger, where you got a player that's able to step in, play center, play a responsible game. And if you go get Anders Lee and you've got Ek, Anders Lee, and Charlie Stramel as your top three centers, and then you got Danilo Yurov, that's a heck of a foursome.
Yeah, I think the X factor on Kirill is, so social media is all about the buddy thing, right? You know, and they love Zook, right? So people like Zook. He's hugging Foligno when he leaves the ice, and but the part I'm curious to see is the joy factor for Kirill. So Zuki makes Kirill happy, and I believe Kirill plays better when he's happy and joyful. And he's kind of been living on Zuki Island a little bit, probably culturally, even in the room. So now it's almost like, imagine he's going to school. He's in fifth grade. He's been sitting at Zuki's table for 5 years with their 2% milk, and now he's walking out. He's walking in with his tray, going, what you know. And not that he doesn't hang out at Maynard's with everybody else. He's a good guy, but I want to make sure. Somebody has to make him happy. And I think winning will do that, of course, but I just want to make sure he's smiling and flying around and staying late at practice and all the things that Zuki brought out of him. And that's got to come from either inside or from somebody else.
I wonder if that guy ends up being Quinn Hughes. It just feels to me when you see some of those social media posts, whether it's down in Florida at the Elbow Room or here in Minnetonka at Maynard's, that wherever I see 43, I see 97. They're almost inseparable. And I watch them at practice, and I watch them, more importantly, after practice and some of the stuff they're working on. And, you know, Quinn has that superstar feel. And I wonder if Kirill and Quinn become those buddies now. Not that we didn't love Zuki. Like, we loved Zuki. His playmaking ability is as good as I've ever seen in a Wild sweater. But now this is kind of the new era, and maybe that's the direction Billy wants to go. I think for Wild fans, I think there's a lot of panic on social media. I've been found it all day. You get trapped kind of going down that rabbit hole. But I do believe, you know, we have a guy in Billy Guerin that knows exactly what a cup contender looks and feels like, and he just got an award for being the general manager of the year. So I think sometimes people have to take a step back and realize that guy knows more than we do, and maybe they have to trust the process a little bit. I know it's anti-Twitter or X to do it that way, but man, just trust the process here.
He's very patient too. You know, yep. Billy's always saying, like, these things take time, whether it's Quinn's deal. I don't think he tries to win in the summer. You look at Nashville a couple years ago, right? That looked like they were putting a reality show together about a super team, and it's taken them a few years even to get out of a hole. So I think the team just needs to be. I'm taking it practically, Gorgie. So I wrote this down. I think we lost about 150 points. Now Zuki only played 59 games, and he really had a hell of a season. So you start looking at Bobby Brink. Can this guy score 50? Can he score 60, 40? And you're still chasing maybe 100 points just on, and that's the stuff that gets you into the playoffs. So Anders Lee takes you a lot of the way there, right? If you get a guy like that, but and you know, a Nick Foligno, Marcus needs a bounce back season. So there's ways to fill the gap, but between JoJo, Vladdy, and Zuki, it's not a small amount of offense that walked out the door.
No, and the other factor is it's not a small amount of experience and big game experience. So I respect that there is going to be some ground to be made up, both on the stats and also in the room. I think Zuki was a really good leader in that room. So I get all that. And I don't think these decisions are made quickly. As you mentioned, Billy G's a real patient guy, and he's learned to kind of let things play out. But certainly something happened along the way, and they feel like at some point, 97, Carrillo's got to figure out a way to play the way they wanted to play, and maybe this is just a part of that process. And they're gonna put a team on the ice that's ready to go. The Wild right now are currently the 5th team in the betting market to win the Cup next year. These are uncharted waters for all of us. We have become the Cup contender we always hoped we would be, and I think we have to realize that it's not a 1 or 2 year window. This is probably a 4 or 5 year window. And everything that happens here in the summer, there are more moves to be made when the season gets going. And when you get a healthy Philip Gustafsson and you've got Pickard, Gustafsson, and Jesper Wallstedt, now you've got some capital one way or the other. And teams are going to be awfully desperate for a goaltender. If they can convince a guy like Gustafsson to waive his no trade, you can bet me there are going to be a handful of teams in playoff contention that might want his services. So I think Wild fans sometimes get to be prisoner of the moment. I think we all do. And I think you take a step back and look at this team built around the core of superstar players. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree. What do you, Bobby Brink clearly has been doing something in practice, or he got so many bites at the apple in big-time situations down the stretch into the playoffs, and I thought it was a mixed bag, right? It was kind of it felt like the Bobby Brink experiment last year, but took the hometown discount, Minnetonka kid, and did us a favor, with the salary, which is awesome. I'm very curious what the upside might be there. You look at him at Denver. He was phenomenal. He's a blue chip guy, right? So between Boldy or somebody feels like they could unlock him the same way Tarasenko got unlocked last year. So do you think there's a 60-point Bobby Brink or a 65-point Bobby Brink, or is this a Johansson replacement in the 40s? What's his ceiling?
That's a really good question. 60 seems ambitious right now, and he's still got some growing to do. But I've watched this kid for years, from going back to high school. There is a pop to his game. There is a level he can get to. It did feel a little bit to me last year, and I think we have to remember it was his first time playing, in the playoffs. He's playing for his hometown team. He probably got elevated to a position he wasn't quite ready for. And to now have him come back and have a full off season, more importantly, a full training camp, and kind of find his niche, I think you could certainly expect him to score 20. And if he scores 20, he's likely going to be in that 40 to 50 range point-wise. And to your point, some of the points that need to be replaced, that would go a long way, especially if you add a player of the caliber of an Anders Lee. So I see him as a 20-goal guy next year if things go well. And then in the next few years, he has, Kinger, the potential, the pop in his game to maybe approach a 25 or 30 goal season if you put him in the right spot. He's got speed. He's got skill. He can hammer the puck. It just never felt like he was completely comfortable last year, and I think there are plenty of reasons for that, if that makes sense to you.
Oh, he was in the blender. I mean, he was in the blender. They were tossing him out everywhere. His first power play, they're moving his lines around. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I'm a Wild Rube. I love Billy. I love the team. I want us to win the Stanley Cup. I'm just saying, I think this guy, I was in Boston when he played for Denver and they won it. I went to the Frozen Four, and I mean, he was a dominant college hockey player. You look, he's in the 50s, 60 points or whatever it was. And I mean, he was a blue chipper the whole way up. I remember him as a young player. He was the best player people were talking about as a youth player. So I think he wants to be here. He showed that with the contract. And I don't know. I think he might just go. He's got to find a partner probably. I don't know if that's Boldy from the development camp or what, but I don't know. I if you get that 20, then if he can replace Vladdy, that's a big deal from just putting the puck into the net.
Yeah, I think that'd be huge. And when you have a player that's still kind of figuring things out, you got a player with some upside, and now you got a player that took the hometown discount and basically bet on himself. To me, that's where the rubber meets the road. Here's a kid that said, all right, you give me a year and I'm going to show you guys. Like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform. So you've got a perfect storm here if you're the Minnesota Wild. You've got a young man from here with that blue chip pedigree that's won everywhere he's gone, that now has to go out and prove it. You've got some flexibility too. You can move him all over that lineup. This kid, I think, is sitting on a great year. I'm excited to see how it plays out, because I think he'll be a lot more comfortable now than he was last year. And you mentioned the blender. It sure felt that way. And he played nervous, I think, sometimes. He had some good looks in the playoffs and actually missed the net. The puck got a little elevated a couple times. We were talking about it on your show. But he does get those chances, right? Like, he is that player. He's that guy that can make those type of plays in big spots at the highest levels. So there is something there. I think Billy sees that too. So I'm excited. Like, I think if you look at this roster and you look at the key components, there are going to be some new faces that are going to be given some big time opportunity, but it's all going to come down to, once again, the big four: Faber, Quinn, Kaprizov, Boldy. You've got those guys healthy and playing at the highest level. Look out. This team's going to be hard to beat.
Agree completely. I'm excited. I trust Billy. I love Carter's idea that this year was our Four Nations. Next season will be our Olympics. That's kind of my mindset, is we learned some stuff, we put some pieces in place, and now it's time to go get it.
Where did your love for the Wild come from, start? What are the origins? For me, I think I've told you this story. I'm a little older than you. I grew up a North Stars fan, and when they left, it was like my heart was ripped out of my chest, and nothing came close to it until the Wild came back and kind of reestablished NHL hockey here. And I go back and look at two important early milestones: the big win over Dallas at home in that first season, and then the first playoff series win when Brunette scored that overtime goal in 2003 to beat the Avalanche in upset fashion, is kind of when I was fully back, and my passion and love kind of stems from that. For you, what's the backstory?
It's not a normal one. I love the North Stars. I loved Dino Ciccarelli, because when I was young, they used to have a dinosaur stuffed animals, and I had I had the poster of him tying his skates with the shirt off in my closet. And
oh yeah,
number 20, they added the black stripe to the jersey when I was in 8th grade, and I remember that some kid wore it to school the one day you didn't have to wear a uniform. And the Wild were weird for me for a really long time. Like, I was really kind of a fringe fan, right? Like, I would love Bugard or Clutterbuck or some of these kind of cowboys on the edges. I'm truly a New Testament Billy Guerin, Kirill Kaprizov era Wild fan. As far as like having a team, I was there when Richard Park won Game 6. And I really enjoyed that initial run against Vancouver and Colorado. I remember watching those games with my brothers and my dad, but for whatever reason, it didn't hook my heart until this latest iteration. And I guess part of that's I was working with the team a lot more. I was kind of in the water a little bit more. But the North Star thing was really hard for me, because it was like you had this idea in your head. It's kind of like people do with the WCHA, right? Like, they can't get over it. They can't get into the Big Ten, right? I don't have that problem as much, but I had some North Star hangover, and it took me a while. And the young Russian, I still remember that first headshot of Kaprizov with the hair. And I'm told they asked him if he wanted to take it again, which is the best. And he didn't. But, I was there when Gaborik showed up before they had the rink. He had the bleach blonde hair, and he was at the event before they opened the Excel. But yeah, I think this current era, Billy, the American players, the gold medalists now, Brock, Kirill, Moose and the gang, I'm very much last 7 years is when they got my heart. They always had my eyes, but my heart came late. A little bit New Testament.
I like that.
Is that bad?
And
Is that bad?
No,
Does that make me a worse fan?
I think it's great. I think it's honest. I like that you're being upfront. And I think for Wild fans that listen to this show, The Not Weird Wild campaign is spectacular. We've seen some great commercials. You're the brains behind all of them. How much did that enhance your enjoyment now when you sit back and watch some of these games that you literally have a working relationship, not only with some of these players, but with Billy Guerin? Like, he trusted you enough, the one with the horn and Spurgeon and the truck. Like, I'm sorry, I giggle just thinking about it right now, but you have a relationship with the core of this team, and that has to enhance your enjoyment of when they have the success they've had.
I think Billy Guerin fundamentally changed the culture of the Minnesota Wild. And he's a breath of fresh air, right? As a creative person, it's so rare to be able to present your ideas and just have a guy at the end of the table, just a giant belly laugh the whole time and being like, make them all. And if they give you any grief, let me know, right? I mean, that is pretty cool. So I think it kind of let the hair down and took some of it made me feel like I could fit better with the Wild. Cause I was just like all these Minnesotans, like, the name, I wish they were just the North Stars. Why don't they change back to the North Stars, or why don't they change their colors? Now they kind of have some jerseys that give you the feelings, but, yeah, I had a lot of North Star baggage, man. Neil Broughton, Brian Bellows, Dino Ciccarelli, Hartsburg, Bobby Smith. Like that was like and then when they left, I was in college, and then Dallas won the cup, and then they came back, but they kind of felt like expansion-y, right? And, but now Carter and I used to joke, like, we didn't feel like we had an NHL store guy. Like, we were kind of like the Columbus Blue Jackets or something. We were just sort of mid, right? Now, look at this transformation. You got free agents are basically saying, I'll play in 5 places. And one of the places is Minnesota now.
Yep.
That's insane. It used to be more like, I'm going to go there and they got good school districts and I'm going to kind of retire in Minnesota. Now it's like, the studs want to play in Minnesota. So yeah, I'm I got a lot more emotionally invested in the Billy Guerin era.
And I think, maybe to close the conversation on the Wild here, to me, that is maybe the biggest news of all moving forward in this window of opportunity to win a cup is it's unbelievable how many players want to play here. And Dylan Larkin just being the latest that made a list of three teams, and Minnesota was one of them. I can vividly remember not so long ago where they would have been in the bottom 5. And, the way that Bill Guerin and Craig Leopold have committed to treating these players, and I know I've talked to you on your show about this, Carter's talked about it on your show, I've talked about it on this show, and I've talked about it on K-Fan with Paul Allen. Like, it's a thing. The facilities they have, the way they travel, the places they stay, the way these players are treated, look no further than what happened when the Wild got Quinn Hughes and the way he was treated when he got here. That word gets around, and these players all talk. This isn't 1979. They all train together. They talk together. They hang out together, whether it's the Olympics or not. They all know each other, and now it is a place where people realize you can win. The building's full. It's a hockey market. And oh, by the way, you won't travel or be taken care of any better than you will be by Billy Guerin. And to me, Kinger, in a world that we live in right now in the National Hockey League, where it's getting bigger and the cap keeps going up and these guys are becoming superstars, that really matters.
Yeah, and the other piece of that is the room, the culture. Mm-hmm. And you got to give Spurgeon a lot of credit, right? Because I haven't met a bad guy since I've been working with the Wild. It's a good room. It seems like they treat everybody well. They don't have a bunch of BS. And the fact that we're even on that list, Gorgie, all the other teams on that list have just won the Stanley Cup or it's 85 and sunny every day, or they have no state tax. Right. Yep. And we have none of that stuff, but we're still on the list. And so the thing that's crazy is the league is starting to look like the NBA. Like, I'm watching these players move. This has never happened before, between Werenski, talking he wants out Larkin, maybe Hellebuck's going to move. A lot of it's tied to this Olympic team for the United States, but Bobrovsky's playing for Toronto now. What? I mean, it's this never happened. I mean, guys basically had one jersey their whole career, and now people are like, I think I want to play with Celebrini. I mean, they're just bouncing around. And even when they have contracts, they're like, yeah, I'd rather play here, or look, move me here. I mean, it's starting to get a little NBA. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but as long as we win, I don't actually care.
Are you like me? And I'm glad you mentioned the North Star thing, because that's where it all, goes back to for me, for sure. I don't like the Dallas Stars. I'm a big fan of Jake Ottinger, known him since he was in high school, went to school with my middle daughter, Maddie, at Lakeville North, but I cannot stand that team. And so I went to bed thinking Werenski's going to be a Dallas Star, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, like, we just got done beating these guys in a war of a series. They're going to be a handful already, and now they're adding this. So I have to tell you, as victories and losses go on Free Agent Frenzy Day here, as we record Wednesday, I had so much guilty pleasure out of seeing that Werenski vetoed the move to Dallas that I've had a hard time stopping my smile since. How about you?
Oh yeah, I hate Dallas. That was great. And it didn't really have a lot of explanation. It was I would go find that sentence on every website, TSN, ESPN. Zach Werenski says no to Dallas. I was like, yeah, good for you, because that would have been a nightmare. It's like, you just beat them. They're your old self, right? And then they kind of add a Quinn Hughes type. That would have sucked. And I'm glad he didn't go there, for sure. We'll see where he does go, or it sounds like now, unless something's changed since we started recording, it sounds like he might wind it up in Columbus again and settle down. It was the latest I saw.
Same here. You're also the hockey hair guy, so let's go back to the 70s or 80s before we wrap up today and talk about some of your favorite hockey hair from the 70s or 80s. And I'm going to start with the proverbial meatball, the easy, the Dino Ciccarelli play, like the perm, the curly hair. You mentioned the poster where he's tying his skates, but as far as hockey hair goes, I vividly remember that flimsy helmet he wore, right? That similar to Gretzky, the CCM, and then that hair just sticking out the back. It doesn't get any better. Are there others that caught your eye from the 70s and 80s?
Well, Dino is really original in the sense that it's like a perm. His hair is almost like Don Lucia's was.
Yes.
When he was at Colorado College. Like, I haven't, in all the years I've been doing the state tournament, I don't know that I've really seen a Italian stallion come through like that with that kind of the Brady perm. So he was a good one for sure. Madonna was just a stud. There's a video on YouTube. It's something like some specific season, probably when they won the cup. Basically, I think the title of the video is like, Mike Modano was the coolest human being of all time. He had it down. And then I really love what the movie Miracle did with this kind of new version of hockey hair, which is sort of like, it goes over the ears a little bit. It's bigger and kind of cleaner. That's kind of what the kids look like now. They kind of have the Miracle hair. But back in the day, it used to be a lot more like mullets. It was a real mullet. If there was a kid, Jay Vieira, on Edina, they called him V. When I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore, and they would have a flat top, and then the back would just go down straight, and then they would have stripes in the sides. I mean, people don't even do that now. No one has a flat top on top, and then it doesn't even curl at the bottom. It just was straight down stripes. That's pretty awesome too. But I just get a kick. I always find myself, when I put that thing together, just laughing. Like, the managers are so damn funny now, and the girls got after it this year. Dodge County did a bunch of shenanigans, so it makes me laugh and raise some money for the Hendrickson Foundation. So it's been fun to be a sideshow.
I love that the managers now are coordinating their outfits too, and not just the hair, which you've talked. They get the hair all dialed in for sure to be a part of the video, but then these matching outfits, they just keep taking it to another level.
Oh, and they do skits. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a guy light a hoop on fire and a real live tiger jumps through it in the 2 seconds that the managers are on screen, right? I mean, I wouldn't put anything by these guys. And plus, managers are just, in some ways, I'm kind of a team manager more than a player, right? So I get a real kick out of the managers. Anybody that just wants to be around hockey, that isn't necessarily a player, they have to be a fun person, I think.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny now because we can go to YouTube and we can go back and look at whether it's editions of Your Hockey Hair with the state tournament, which now goes back many, many years, or you can go back and, like, just recently I watched a North Star game from the early 1980s, and there's Willie Plett with the blonde hair, no helmet, right? The hair flowing around. Like, it was just a different world in terms of hockey hair, but he had the long flowing blonde hair, no helmet on, flying around the ice, hitting guys. I love the fact that we can go onto our computer and we can go back in time in a nanosecond, and I do it probably more often than most.
Yeah, no, Willie Plett that's my era too, with the Al Secord. Secord sucks, and
Yep.
yeah, Willie was awesome. Then you had McRae and Churla. That's another reason to hate the Dallas Stars, because if you even think of the Wild podcast, I would love to have, Churla and McRae on as guests, or Willie Plett on as a guest, but they took our history with them, right? Because that's now tied to the Dallas Stars franchise, even though it's not really, but that's how it works. So yeah, there's some good stuff from back in the day. Al Iafrate with the skullet. You had, and just a guy like Neil Broughton's really the original Youngblood. I mean, look at Neil Broughton when he's young.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically Rob Lowe. He's got just the simple hockey hair. Love it.
Great stuff, Kinger. Well, love catching up with you. We'll keep an eye on social media. I think our paths are going to cross again. I know the Wild are working hard to finalize their TV deal, and I think fans that have connected with me via social media here on Wooden Sticks have been asking, and there's going to be an announcement sometime here in July, and I know you're going to be at least a part of it in terms of how it gets announced. They're still finalizing all the deals and stuff. So our paths are going to cross again. And one of the Wild operatives today was like, "Are you comfortable working with John King?" And I said, "Comfortable?" I said, "It does nothing but good things for me. So yeah, just sign me up. Whatever Kinger needs, I will do. And we'll once again go out there and try to sell the game, grow the game, all that good stuff, buddy."
Well, you maybe should have asked him what you're going to have to do if it gets approved. So yeah, we showed him that yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. So hopefully that happens. That would be a great way to show the world that the people they love are going to be back.
Can't wait. That is John King, of course, from Wild on 7 with Ryan Carter, a terrific podcast for you hockey fans to check out. And I'll be back after a quick break, and I'll put a bow on this week's edition of the show. We're back, and the final segment here with Alex and myself, and I continue to monitor Twitter and see what's going on. Vincent Trocheck is now a member of the Utah Mammoth. I'm okay with that. Back to John King. Just love his creative mind, love his sense of humor, and I love the cross-pollination of going on their show and then having him and Carter come join me on Wooden Sticks here, because we're all on the same team, we're all pulling the same rope, and we're all hoping and waiting to see this town celebrate a Stanley Cup. And as Carolina got to do that, and we got to watch that market for the second time celebrate a Stanley Cup championship, have a parade, see all the good stuff that goes along with it. It's one more reminder that when it happens, and it is going to happen, St. Paul is going to have such a party, and I can't wait to be right there with John King and my buddies from the Minnesota Wild to celebrate that. And then all of you as listeners, a lot of you are in this market, and that's kind of the one thing that has eluded us. We've got the unbelievable state tournament. We've had some great college hockey programs, specifically at the top of that list, the University of Minnesota. We've had women in this market, both the Frost and the Lynx, celebrate championships. But, I'm pushing 60 here. So the last time on the Big Four side of the men that we got to have a parade was 1991. I was fresh out of college. It was awesome. We had just done that in 87. We felt like kings of the world. And, at that time in 1991, We were getting the Super Bowl. The North Stars were about ready to make a run at a Stanley Cup. I mean, we literally had everything right at our resource. I mean, it was just right there at our fingertips. And now it's 35 years later, and we haven't seen another one. So that's where the emotion comes from. That's where the passion comes from. And that's where the hope comes from. And we'll keep pushing in that direction. Once again, ping me at my social media spot, which is X or Twitter, at Gorgomatic21. Huge weekend of racing. I don't know when you're getting to this podcast, but we race Thursday at 5. The 3rd of July, Friday, 4 o'clock first post, best fireworks in town. Saturday, the 4th of July, special 1 o'clock start, wiener dogs, and of course the hot dog eating contest, which I will broadcast down in the winner's circle. And Sunday, Pepsi Family Day at 1 o'clock. So as you listen to the show, if you don't go to the cabin, come out and see us at Canterbury. We'll talk some hockey, and hopefully by then the Wild have locked up a big-time free agent. Maybe it's Anders Lee. We'll find out. Thanks for listening. Happy 4th, everybody.